Hi folks, how you doing? Just let everybody get nice and comfortable and we'll start. Good morning Hayley, Gail, Sid. Good morning Patricia. We'll just let everybody do their page refreshes. It does take a page refresh to connect to the live stream. I've got to push a couple of buttons my end to go live, and if you've pushed or if you've signed up just before then you won't have connected to that live stream, hence why you need to push the refresh button. So that's why sometimes you'll see my good morning, but you won't see anything. So just click refresh and hopefully I'll be there. We'll just wait for people to arrive. I can just see them checking in now. I hope you're all doing super well wherever you may be. And yesterday's class there was a lot to take on board, a new movement and a lot to learn within the movement. And because for that reason I won't be teaching you a new movement today, we will consolidate everything we've learned so far so we don't run before we can walk, as they say. But today, get yourselves comfortable for the next 5-10 minutes as I've got a new principle of Qigong that I'd like to share with you. I see Diane just put a message there saying that the chat scroll isn't working. I'm not sure why. That might well be the device that you're using. I can scroll through mine. So if those of you who are doing the live chat, can you just have a scroll, see whether it's working for you, and then we might be able to narrow it down why that's the case. But like I said, I'm actually scrolling through now as I speak to you live, and it's working for me. So we'll do that. So Gail, no snow down in Dorset. No, I think it's all come over to us in the east. So today I'd like to talk to you about Ting. And in my live classes, as in my 8 o'clock classes, you will hear me every day probably say Ting. And it's one 4-letter word, T-I-N-G that is, that encapsulates so much. And as always, not just through Qigong, but life. And it's one word, when you understand its meaning, its essence, and you can slowly learn to practice, it really brings a different quality and depth to not only your practice, but remember, whatever you practice, in your Qigong you'll be able to use in everyday life. So what is this word Ting? It is Ting is a kind of energy. Now please don't get muddled up with the previous energies that I've spoken about. I'm using energy as in it's something that you can tune into and feel. It's a kind of energy that we generate when we bring our mind back to our body and get in touch with what's going on within us and around us at the same time. Ting is to listen, but not to listen with your ears, to listen with your mind and your sensitivity. It's to tune in with all of your senses. Ting is complete awareness. Ting is the art of feeling. Ting is a conversation that you have with someone, that you don't just listen, but you hear them. You hear them with your heart and your mind. Ting is making your body completely alive. Ting bypasses anticipation and expectation. Ting is about being completely in this moment. Ting is working with and not fighting against. Ting is having no agenda. Ting is the way we receive information from the outside world. It's the moment between the antenna and the brain, or that moment in between receiving the information. It's the moment in between your inhale and your exhale. So that's how I describe Ting. And I will create a little document of what I've just said up there for you, just in case you want to go back and remind yourself of what I've just said. So perhaps you want to envisage Qing, embody Qing, embrain. It might not be a word, but it's a word that I like to use. Ting as the mindfulness within Qigong. It is about using all of your senses to receive that information. And in order to do that, it just takes practice. But we've got to know that there is such a thing as Ting. So in our practice from today onwards, I will just mention the word Ting. More often than not, when we're standing in Wu Qi right at the beginning. And that is inviting you to open up your senses, your antennae, to receive and connect with everything in that moment. So for instance, whether you're sitting down or standing just now, whether you have socks on or bare feet. I'd like you just to wriggle your toes. Feel. Maybe your feet are in socks or slippers or shoes. Maybe, like me, they're on a carpet. Maybe you're standing on tiled floor. But feel the texture with your feet. Feel the temperature around your toes, your feet. You can stop wriggling now if you wish. And as you sit there, feel the air on your hands, the coolness of the air. Any exposed skin you have. Listen. When you listen, don't go searching for the sounds. Allow the sounds of whatever it may be come to you. So it could be a distant car, and we just notice the sounds. Maybe a ticking clock. Maybe birdsong. Maybe snow melting, falling off your roof. So we're listening not just with our ears, but with our body. When you feel the sounds, how does it make you feel? And when you breathe in through your nose, feel the coolness of the air as it touches the rims of your nostrils and go up into your nose. Feel that coolness enter your lungs, your belly. It's a bit like having just brushed your teeth or just had a mint and you go outside in the winter air and you breathe in. It just opens everything up and you think, wow. Or we can tap into that on a more subtle level all the time. And now as you breathe back out through your nose, notice how the air is neutral. You can barely feel the temperature of the air because it's been warmed by your body. So, this is Ting. Ting is taking mindfulness just to a deeper level of connection, of appreciation. Now, I mentioned to you about Ting is working with and not fighting against. And the analogy that I like to metaphor that I like to use for that is one that I actually used in this morning's class, but it's one that's very close to my heart because we live through our experiences. Our experiences makes us who we are. Sometimes they define who we are, good and bad. But there's an experience that I enjoy, and that is every year I volunteer to look after a campsite for a parish in North Norfolk. It's a campsite open to everybody. We only open up for 28 days in the summer. And all the money that we receive from the campsite goes straight into the local community again and looking after the churches. But when we're there, right on the coast, there's a creek, and the creek is tidal. And when the tide's out, you can actually walk right in the center of the creek. And depending on how high the tide is, the creek can overflow and can completely cover the car park. So if you don't look at the tide times, you could have a floating car, and that happens every year. However, the point of me mentioning the creek is when I'm there and I've observed over the years how the creek comes in and how the tide just comes in, and it's quite a distance from the sea to land, I'll get into the creek as the tide rises. And there's a certain point at which I can float. And I need to help myself to float a little bit, so I'll push my belly up and I'll use my hands just to float, just to keep me floating in the water. Hopefully you've experienced this before, even just swimming, where you just lay there and you're just using your hands and your feet just very, very slightly, but just to keep you buoyant. And I let the tide just gently pull me in. And sometimes it can take 20 minutes, half an hour, just there floating. It takes very little effort on my behalf. However, I need to be alert because there are sailing boats, other swimmers. I need to be alert that I use my body to keep buoyant, and I use my hands just to gently steer me away from any obstacles. I take in the sounds, the smells, the feeling, and it's using nature's way, the tide, and a small amount of effort on my behalf that allows me to go with the flow and not fight against it. So when you're practicing your Qigong, it's very much like floating in the creek. Don't fight or push through barriers to get to the other end. You will get there, and it will take as long as it needs to take, but just let it to take you there, rather than you rushing to get there, rather than you applying too much effort to get there. Ting. So, that's Ting for you. Use your mind and sensitivity to feel, to listen, to sense. And you can do this not just in Qigong, but on a walk, being with people, or just even sitting at home on your sofa, taking 2 minutes out. Ting. It makes you feel alive. So there we have it. So why not now? Let's get up with some practice. We will do our warm-ups. We will do the 6 movements that we've learnt together. And then we'll have our live chat afterwards with any questions that you may have. To date, it could be about any of the movements as well, not just today's class. So when you're ready, just get yourself in your space, standing or sitting. Okay. Stand in Wu Chi or sit in Wu Chi. Soften your joints. Engage your thighs, like buoys in the sea, effortlessly just floating there. Sink your lower legs into the sand or the earth. Spread your roots as deep as you can, as far wide out as you can. Connect your three treasures to the heavens through your helium balloon attached to your string. Release any tension in your lower back, buttocks. Yawning armpit. Breathe. Ideally breathing in through your nose, down deep into your belly. Belly gently expands as you inhale. Relaxes as you exhale back out through your nose. Ting. Listen. Using all your senses, your mind, your sensitivity. Connect with the world outside and the world inside. So the practice of Ting allows us to come back into our body when perhaps your mind wanders. Start to notice with your mind, your body. Ting is the practice of noticing with all your senses. Good. If you can remember to place the tip of the tongue to the roof of your mouth, just behind your top teeth, all the better. Just let it rest there. Okay, let's just gently ease our body into a shake. Gently, gently, not fighting against. So use the shake to gently open the body. So you can tilt to the sides and forward. Relax all your face so the shake resonates through your hand, your face, your cheeks. So we're applying Ting all the time. We're just feeling what's going on, noticing, listening, hearing. Wonderful. Let's transition into our slosh. Just let the momentum of the flow move you, and you sink your mind into your body. Yi Dao, Qi Dao, where your mind goes, your inner ocean follows. Good. And we're going to transition into swing one. Keep your knees aligned with your toes, using your lower dantian as the engine of the movement. Feel, connect physically with how your body spirals and gently twists, wrings out the old. So the momentum just swings my body. There's a little control for me so I don't overswing. Bringing my awareness to my knees, the gentle spirals I'm creating, the openings. Good, well done. So now we're going to transition into swing 2. So slow it down as slow as you need to go. Shift your weight, and from the kwa, turn the leg out, pivoting from your heel. Remember your knees in line with your toes. Wonderful. And gently slow that down. Let it gradually slow down as we end up where we started in Wuchi. Feel, notice, ting. And in that ocean, the outer ocean, let the hands float up. Keep your armpits yawning. Space. Good. So let's together compress the pearl. All timed with your breath, not mine. But as you breathe in, you expand. Follow your entire inhale to your exhale. Compress the pearl. releasing your puppet joints, your pulsing, ting. Movement to flying hands. Into movement 3. Peacock fans its tail, breathing in, breathing out. Good. Hang out like a T. Movement 4. Uphold the moon. Gently hands float down. Create the C shape. Remember the analogy yesterday I gave of the archer's bow to the back of the knee, to the crown of the head. So if both of those points come in together, crown of the head, back of the knees, and soften everything else in between. Create that gentle C shape. Breathe in, breathe out. Into movement 5, swimming dragons. As the hands continue to come down, the body sinks. Hands out in front of us, one palm, up, down. Breathe in and breathe out, and in, out. Gently lengthening the dough, feeling the elasticity of the dough through your body. Let it return back to its original shape. And now we lengthen it again. And we're going to transition into diagonal flying. So next time the hands come to the center, one palm will face up and down naturally. Whichever palm's facing down, keep that at the bottom. Part your hands, fingers pointing up and down. Good. Slosh, shift your weight, sink a little. Open up from the kwa, diagonally sweep, looking in the direction of your fingers. The top hand, the hand you're looking at, keeps high as you come back to the center. Connect to the center before you shift weight, diagonally sweep. Keep this hand high as you bring it back to the center, line with your nose. Connect to the center, shift weight, diagonally sweep. Well done. We come back to the center. Let your hands just come either side of your body back into Wu-Chi, full circle right where we started. Ting. Shift weight and come in for a narrow stance, as narrow as is comfortable for you. And let's close. And close. Thank you. Thank you for joining me here on day 16. Well done. Well done. So we're going to head over to the live chat now. And if you're having troubles with the scroll, perhaps, again, I know I keep saying it, but the refresh button may well help you. And if you've got any questions, please fire away and I'll hopefully try and answer them for you. I'll just hold on for your messages. As I said, when I was talking about Ting, I'll write that up for you and I will put it in the Slack community, but I'll also attach it to the website page as well for those of you who aren't part of the Slack. And so you'll find that on the and underneath the 30-day Qigong Challenge page, you'll see the About, and underneath or next to that, you'll see resources. As soon as you click on that, there'll be a full host of PDFs that I've written up for you, just really as teaching notes. Hi Sid, thanks for your message. Obviously, what I've been saying has now caught up through the camera. It always takes a minute or two. Feels great. Seems much easier today, and also since starting the challenge, you're sleeping much better. Well, that's really good news. Really good news, and I think once we start to balance our body, once we start to balance in Qigong terms, the Jing, the Qi, the Shen, and they start to harmonize, we start to feel more balanced, and that will seep into our lives. And if it's for you, as it is for many, it does help with sleep, and we all know how awful it is when we don't get good sleep. So so I'm really pleased for you, but remember to not expect that from here on in. Continue with your practice, do exactly as you've been doing, rather than putting expectations on things and anticipations. Let's practice Ting. Just hold on and see if anyone else has any questions they might like to pose. We have got a couple more minutes. The beauty of practicing Ting and bringing your awareness, and the beauty of practicing mindfulness in the sense of being in this present moment came really clear last night. And I know a couple of you that attend this course also join our Monday evening Sangha, our meditation group. At the beginning of the Sangha, we go around the group and we offer an internal weather report. Essentially what that is we use the weather to report how we're feeling. And what I asked everybody to do last night was, rather than think about what we're going to say, is to let come out whatever comes out, rather than rehearsing and thinking too hard about things, is actually spend our time listening to everybody else and listen to what other people have to say. Ting, listen with your heart and your mind rather than worrying about what you're going to have to say. And we got to a long-standing student of mine. He's been practicing with me for over 10 years. And he is always chirpy. You very rarely see his mood change. He's always joyful. And he had already thought about what he was going to say, and said, I feel good, I feel joyful, as I always do. But after having applied this sense of listening to everyone else and seeing how you feel at that very moment when it's your turn to say something, should you wish to, he was quite amazed at how, where he used to think he was always on this plateau of happiness, that actually did do this. It wasn't just black and white. There were grey areas, and it did this. And I thought that was a beautiful moment, and a moment that we could all learn from, because for those of us, or those people who tend to live in a world of constant pain, pain brings on low mood, and I know I've been there. We tend to then define ourselves by being somebody who is in pain all the time and who lives in this low mood all the time. That's just me. And we haven't given it any other thought. We've just defined ourselves as that person. Whereas what Steve experienced last night, if we all applied that, living in the moment, we may well notice glimpses of coming out of that low mood. And we might laugh at something for a moment. Well, that isn't being in that low mood, that's picking yourself up out of that low mood. And then we realise there is possibility there. So the practice of being mindful, of applying Ting, of using everything that we have within us to tap in, to notice. You might well surprise yourself and pick yourself up out of these low moods of pain and think, actually, I'm having a good point at the moment. Doesn't matter how long it is, but I am having a good point. So again, that was a mindfulness working in the real world just that came through last night. So there's a couple of questions that come through. So Audrey, when you're standing in, it's come out as Wi-Fi, I presume that's auto-type, but I'm presuming you've meant Wu Chi. Your upper arms ache, you're trying to release the tension and relax your shoulders, open up the armpits, and that's when the tension builds up. Okay, so I think if we try and hold too much here, you're going to potentially end up with tension here in your shoulders and upper arms, and it's almost like you're holding your arms out. we don't hold the arms out. The best thing to do, you might want to do this with me now if you find that this is doing the same, is if you just have your arms closed, so your palms are facing inwards towards your body. They may even be touching your body. Now, using your elbows, nothing to do with your shoulders or your upper arms, but use your elbows to turn out your arms, just a little, and then bring it back. Now, as you do that a couple of times, notice that there is a very subtle opening space being created in the armpit. And if you can't feel it, it is happening as soon as you do this movement with your arm. So all we need to do is from here is turn the elbows out and let the arms just rest, but keep your elbows turned outwards rather than turning from your shoulder, which is going to create tension. So see if that helps, Audrey. Oh, Diane, yeah, you can see and hear me fine. It might just be the cookies. Yet sometimes, you know what technology is like, it just gets caught and we need to go back, have a bit of a clear out and start again. A good idea, Diane, please let me know how that goes. No questions today, Hayley. That's absolutely fine, not a problem at all. So Christine, after doing the swing and turn, we settle after, and you asked to notice. My hands were tingling and my eyes were closed when I felt the sensations of my hands gradually rising. And there you go. That's a qigong, a qi experience, a qi sensation, and it is paying attention to these beautiful tingles and sensations and what our body is involuntarily doing, and this allows us to be our inner doctor eventually, that we can start to listen and hear and feel what the body is doing and asking from us. Remember, the body only gives you back what you demand from it. So if we choose to be idle and not do much at all, the body's just going to tire. It's going to think, well, you don't need me, so I'm just going to sit here and do nothing. I appreciate for some people they don't have the choice of being sitting down because of health conditions. Well, we can do some qigong and do what you can while seated, do what you can by doing a little bit of standing up. Then your body's going to say, okay, you're asking me to do this. So it's that tuning in, that ting, that noticing. So well done, Christine. And your right side felt like an old tree and the left side was a younger tree. We spoke about the balance of left and right before. That's yin and yang energy. It's very, very common. In time, you will notice that your right side will become younger and more agile, and through your movement and the balancing, when I mean balancing, I'm talking balancing through your qigong practice, not balancing on one leg. You will find that that will gently work, and when you tune in a bit more, you'll be able to slowly start to choose which movements you do in your own practice to help open up your body. Bridget, hi Bridget, happy you practiced Ting this morning. Listen to your heart and soul. Yeah, the floating on the creek for me is something that I do every year, and it's just a beautiful moment of being. Okay, Audrey, you did practice that and that works perfect. So what's happened today, Audrey, is that you have used your shoulders and your arms, so you're going to have to pay attention to when you are standing Wu Qi that it is just your elbows turned out, and don't go back into old habits by doing this, okay? So just really notice, pay attention that it's just your elbows. Yeah, and again, you know, when we define ourselves by what we can't do, we're telling ourselves that, and that's the picture we're painting of ourselves. It's just a message from Audrey that she's constantly surprised at what she can actually do when she doesn't listen to the what I can't do. We can all do To what degree? Well, that depends on us individually and what we're going through. But so Sid, you're doing Zumba tomorrow. Maybe not you, but you'll catch up, not a problem. And looking forward to being a younger tree all over. Well, you'll be surprised. If you saw me 20 odd years ago in a wheelchair, I was as brittle and as stiff as a tree with no life on it. And now, well, I feel like a younger tree that's more supple, a few creaks, and I rely on the other trees around me to help me, to protect me. So I don't bend too much because I need to listen to my back, my body. But on the grand scale of things, I'm very happy with where I am now, considering where I was and what I could have defined myself by. So on that note, I look forward to day 17. Practice Ting today. Notice, 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 notice. Take good care of yourselves, take good care of each other. See you soon. Bye-bye.